Welcome to the RAMcast, where we talk about all things related to Sioux Valley. This is your host, Brian Kirby, and co-host Jimmy Sickler.
Happy to be here, Mr. Kirby.
All right. Once again this year, we are doing some specials, and today is our special teacher spotlight, and we have none other than the Miss Trisha Esmelka.
Hello.
All right. Without further ado, let's get the show rolling. All right, Mrs. Melka, tell us the name of your high school, town, state, and the mascot.
My high school was the Cambridge Isani in Cambridge, Minnesota. We were a combined school with another small town. And we were the Blue Jackets.
Okay, that's
All
common
right.
in that part of the world.
It definitely is. I didn't ever
So-
really know what that was, but I knew I was one of them. So
Okay,
What is a blue jacket? Is it a bee?
it's in the sailor department. It's on a ship, kind of like something to do with that.
Gotcha. All right. So for entertainment, what song, band, TV show, or movie has been entertaining you lately?
So I'm pretty absorbed in a podcast, a true
Oh.
crime podcast.
Ooh.
I'm a big fan of true crime, and I've discovered this podcast called Morbid. And it's just like a two relatives, ladies sitting around talking about sharing true crime stories from anywhere between something present that's really known to something very uncommon from hundreds of years ago. And it's really hilarious because they really like to insult the criminals in great ways that I think a lot of us do when we're just sitting around talking with each other. So
Okay.
it's very enjoyable.
Well, sounds great. An interesting name, by the way, of it.
Morbid.
Yeah. So which teacher had the most impact on you, and what do you remember the most about?
I had a middle school teacher, Mrs. Djokovic, and I up until that point, a lot of my teachers just said I wasn't working up to my potential.
Okay.
Which horrible thing to say, right?
Yeah, classic.
I was pretty distractible, but back then they didn't really spend too much time if you weren't a nuisance, worrying about if you were paying attention, as long as you weren't causing trouble. And so I didn't really catch a whole lot. And then she did a really good job of kind of holding my feet to the fire, but also finding different ways to draw me in and keep me interested. I think it was both. It was like the pressure of, she thinks I can do it, but also she's going to make sure I do it kind of stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then she also had, I did 2 classes with her. I did a communication class. It was just a huge lot of fun. It was like group communication, and we did a lot of projects and performing in front of people and just a lot of fun. So that helped a lot.
Cool.
So what was your favorite extracurricular activity?
I loved high school softball.
Yes.
I do too.
Lots of fun. I'm a huge fan of softball in general. I love to travel with my team, and we had a fun group of girls. And I carried that I played at junior college, and that was a new group of girls and still a lot of fun and more travel than we did in high school. So that's got a lot of memories there.
Cool. So what does Miss Esmelka do for fun outside of school?
Well, up until I moved here, still played a lot of softball, kind of drew my kids into that. So we made it, kind of made it a family event. And I also really like to garden and take my dog for walks and stuff like that. Thank you. I also like to bake and bead and basically just do stuff with my hands.
Nice.
It's
We'll have to get you in softball around here.
Cool beadwork too. Check it out.
Thank you.
So what class did you find the most enjoyable when you were in school?
I really loved my algebra class. I was trying to remember if it was algebra or geometry. I think it was algebra. We had a really fun teacher that had been teaching for, I don't know, people had him for generations. So he probably wasn't as old as I thought he was at the time. He probably was only my age, but he seemed a lot older. And and he was just really fun, and I learned a lot from him. And it helped that I really love math anyway, so it kind of made it a lot easier. But my sisters had him, and they loved him, and he came to graduation, and which was a lot to say for we had a big school comparatively.
Cool. Yeah. Yep. I understand that for sure. So, with whom did you have your most meaningful relationship with during your years as a student? This could, it
Um,
could be a teacher, it could also be like a
right.
coach or janitor or,
It was
anybody.
almost always sports friends. And it just changed by the sport. So
Okay.
I played volleyball. So then I had my volleyball friends.
Mm.
And then some of them carried over to basketball. I had my group of basketball friends. And then that folded over into softball. And yeah, it was kind of nice to have that variety, but almost always sports friends.
Nice. I can relate to that. So, what is something you have learned about yourself since you started working with kids as a teacher?
I would say that I've learned that well, I learned I'm fairly okay at making relationships with tough kids.
Mhm.
Nice.
And I find them intriguing. I think it's kind of more like a puzzle, like, oh, how can I figure this out? How can I get this to work when he doesn't want to work? Kind of thing. Um, and I've also learned, which I never realized before, is that I'm really good at breaking things down into tiny little steps.
Okay.
So no
Yep.
matter the class, especially when I started out being a special ed teacher and moved into high school English, but as am back into there, is that I'm really good at having a kid bring something in and going, okay, let me really help you break this down one step at a time.
Some
Yeah.
manageable tasks for
Yeah.
sure.
Yep.
It's good. So, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give your younger self entering high school for the first time or leaving high school for post secondary?
Um, I would say well, I think I had a lot of people, I knew I was going to take my time going to school, and I had a lot of people tell me, don't do it, go right to college. If you don't go, you're never going to go.
Mhm.
Um, and so it made me kind of doubt that, but I would just tell myself that there is absolutely no rush. Um, you'll get there when you get there, and it's okay to veer from the path as long as you eventually find your way back to the path.
Good advice. I heard similar things when I was younger. Um, so, what is one of the most memorable moments you've had with your students?
Um, well, in Galena, we had a boarding school, and so these kids, many of them that lived there, couldn't go home for the holidays. And so for years and years, we would check out kids and have big Thanksgiving with them. And same with Easter time. And so you just kind of build a special bond with a lot of them. It's weird for me now to say, when I say, oh, I ran into a former student, because some of them are so much closer than that,
Mm.
because
Yep.
we had spend the nights and we had checkouts and we went and made campfires and all of those other things that you would do with family friends.
Cool.
Yeah, no, and I remember when I was out in Galena, those kids super enjoy that. I mean, they definitely
Oh,
like that.
they just appreciate it so much.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, kind of a little bit on that realm. So, what's the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you in front of students?
Oh, well, I'm pretty sure there's a lot. I do a really good job of blocking out trauma. Um, early in my career, I had a group of kids that were real tough, but I think like year 2, we were on a better path, and I was letting them listen to more music during our work time. And one of them had requested AC/DC. Now, we didn't have a great playlist off of YouTube that was PG, so we had to be careful what we played. We had to kind of DJ ourselves, and sometimes that was hard. And so sometimes there would be words that they weren't supposed to hear. And my head said that I was supposed to say, no, I don't want to listen to the F word this early in the morning. My mouth said, I don't want to listen to and then I said the word this early in the morning.
There you go.
And it's funny when you sometimes do stuff like that, that you think the kids would lose it, about how they're so shocked
Yep.
that no one even addresses it, right? It was
Right.
thankfully one of those moments, and I think
Oh,
I probably spent a week hoping no parents called me. but no one did. My students loved me enough, I guess, to not get me in trouble.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
Nice.
that got me though.
So May 23rd, 2025 is our last day of school. What is your plan after that?
I don't even know. I'm just trying to get through every day. I kind of set my goals on big targets. Like first it was Thanksgiving, now it's Christmas. Um, I do want to bring my girl to basketball camp somewhere.
Mm.
I kind of nudged her to think about it last night, and she said to one of the same places that we'd gone. And I was a little bit disappointed because I wanted to go someplace new, but I guess that's not the point of it.
Yeah.
The point is
Right.
to learn stuff, not necessarily go to someplace new. But yeah, so I don't know where it's going to be, but we're going somewhere.
Okay.
All right.
Cool.
I approve.
Yeah, I'm sure Jimmy does.
Yeah.
All right. So one last question. Anything else you want to add or anything we didn't cover?
I'm just really enjoying being here. It's very different than where I came from, and I've had to learn a lot of new things, but that's not such a bad thing either. And
Yep.
I would have to give a big shout out to a lot of the staff here, especially my first couple years, very rough, just having to learn a whole new system, and the aides especially have been very helpful. Saved my butt more than once.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I don't think you can thank the aides enough for the help that they do. Definitely very, very needed. So,
Yep.
All right. Well, and I can also agree with the moving from where you were to here. It's an interesting shift, but all right. So that is going to conclude this special edition Teacher Spotlight for today. And once again, I'm your principal, Mr. Brian Kirby, and my co-host is none other than famous Jimmy Sickler.
Thank you for having me.
All right. And also, another shout out, special thank you as well to Miss Smelka for her time and going through this process with us.
Yes. Thank you so much.
All right. And I hope you guys enjoy this podcast as another way to connect to our Sioux Valley community. I hope to see you at the next school event or around the community. Thanks for listening.